Alright, boys and girls, I have the big boy in the house today, and I'm calling him the big boy because as soon as I started following, almost every second person has mentioned to me about him. Well, we have the F1 stat guru in the house today, Sundaram Ramaswami. You know, a lot of people asked me that I should ask you, do you have an Excel sheet in your mind right now? So, how did you start getting acquainted to this sport?
So I actually grew up in Bahrain and I just went to the store to get my weekly children's magazine. That's when I came across a poster of Fernando Alonso.
When did you realize now you're becoming like the guru, like you have it now on your gram?
I would play a lot of fantasy cricket with my office colleagues.
Then?
Yeah, 2013, 14,
Okay.
peak IPL time and everything. I'm a very competitive person. Be it on the field or even virtually, I'm very competitive.
You don't look like that competitive.
So everyone would sit down with their Excel sheet, figure out their lineup, figure out patterns and trends
Wow.
from this. And that's where the whole analytical side of me, I discovered that.
And now I want to bring DTS in front of you as well.
Yes, time for the
what
tea.
were your opinions when you first started watching the DTS?
I watched every episode of the first 2 seasons, I think so. But then when I kind of realized that it's pivoting in a different direction, I think it suppressed a lot of drivers as well. When did we have this sort of rivalry?
Let's then quickly get to how it all began.
I did an episode on YouTube and then I realized, my goodness, this is difficult. And then I properly started this in 2018. Started off with a podcast just like this one. To stay relevant, let's get on Instagram.
Yeah.
Then what do I do on Instagram? There was no other Indian creator. So the easiest thing I could do was news posts. And it's evolved over time. But it's a lot of chaos, I can tell you that. I might have started this off as a hobby,
Right.
but it's actually become a job.
I've seen I think the first 2 or 3 weeks we had
was
races every week. Then if there's like an overload like that, it's going to be difficult with the day job that you have already.
Yeah, it is. And it's many times it's difficult to manage both of them. There are sleepless nights.
You plan on building a team from here? Or you think you can do this?
I actually love that you asked that question because for the last 6 years, it's always been me doing everything.
Editing and all, everything?
Editing, yeah.
Wow, that is big, bro.
But then I felt that, there's not much bandwidth.
When did you actually realize that, okay, now I've kind of got that gratification or that approval that I want?
I just put up a very random stat. And of all people, the person who shared it on his story was Fernando Alonso. One of the most gratifying moments for me in this journey over the last 4 years was speaking to the likes of David Croft, Will Buxton, Laura Winter. And then I say, I'm the guy who runs this page, F1 Stats Guru, and they go, oh my goodness, it's you. It's so nice to see you.
What is the next step for F1 Stats Guru?
I would like to be the official statistician of Formula One. If I get the opportunity to work with a team, which seems a little...
Which team?
Difficult question, actually.
Alright, boys and girls, I have the big boy in the house today, and I'm calling him the big boy because as soon as I started following Formula One, got into the Formula One space, almost every second person has mentioned to me about him. Well, we have the F1 stat guru in the house today, Sundaram Ramaswami. Sundaram, thank you so much for being here, man. Really appreciate your time, your presence. And, a lot of people ask me that I should ask you, do you have an Excel sheet in your mind right now?
Well, thank you for having me here. I'm so glad that I've made out the time to come here, and I'm sure we're going to have some interesting conversations. But there's constantly an Excel sheet in my mind running, knowing certain data points at all times and speaking to my team members. It's not a good thing, actually, having your mind running
Maybe
constantly.
it is because you've been in the space for a long time. I think you've now become like a content creator. You've been recognized, in the official broadcast as well. I think I also heard that maybe a driver or someone mentioned you as well.
Not mentioned, reshared my story.
Reshared your story.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's then quickly get to how it all began. When did this journey begin? I'm sure you never had imagined that you will be an F1 statistician of sorts. But from where did it start?
This actually started a decade ago. So I've always wanted to do something around sport. So after college, I initially thought, let's get into cricket journalism.
Wow.
And I started off with my blog back in 2012, and then I realized this is a lot harder than it seems. And that's, I think, with any profession. You think that it's pretty easy to kind of replicate and do. And then I shut that down. And then I got busy with work. And then in 2015, I thought, okay, let's get into Formula One right now. Let's do this properly.
If I can cut you there for a mini second and ask you what work were you doing then?
So I was working in telecom.
Oh, okay.
So I still work in
Still work.
telecom. This is my day job or something in telecom, but then I moonlight in Formula One.
Wow.
Legally.
Mm.
Yeah, in 2015, I thought, let's kind of make better use of my time. And I thought, let's do something around Formula One.
Right.
And I said, okay, let's do YouTube. The new in thing is everyone doing YouTube.
YouTube.
So I did an episode on YouTube, and then I realized, my goodness, this is difficult. Speaking to a camera was even more difficult than actually writing an article. So then I shut that down soon enough.
Okay.
And then I got busy with work again.
Okay.
And then I properly started this in 2018 when I had some more free time to use. I said, you know what, let's do this properly. Started off with a podcast, just like this one. And then I thought, to stay relevant, I have to use other mediums.
Right.
Because how do people find your podcast? Then I
Yeah.
thought, let's get on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then what do I do on Instagram? I didn't know what to do. So I said, okay, let's try and stay relevant with news pages, because that's what everyone was doing at that time. There was no other Indian creator at that
In the
moment
Formula One space.
in the Formula One space in motorsport, and I think I was one of the first ones to do it. And there was no reference, there was no benchmark, there was no videos. It was all posts. So the easiest thing I could do was news posts, and it started from there. And it's evolved over time to something that I do right now. At some point, I realized, you know what, doing news is not going to take me anywhere.
Yeah.
But I kind of identified that stats is something that's very shareable. People like it a lot, and they like these sort of unique insights that I'm able to give it. So I said, let's pivot towards doing stats full time. Even at that time, I didn't imagine that it would come to a stage where I would eventually be working with broadcasters, working with media outlets or news agencies. It was just from a space where I wanted to talk about Formula One. I wanted to talk about the sport. I wanted to share some insight, some perspective, and that was completely it. Right now, you have brands, you have a whole structure, you have a team. None of that crossed my mind. But it was only a way to kind of live my passion, try and talk about my hobby, and been doing it for a good 7 years right now.
Wow. And before you got to, being a statistician, right? How did you start following the sport? Like right now, I was speaking to Aditya as well.
Yeah.
And, we were having this conversation about a lot of people being DTS fans. Now, I've also come from a
They're
space.
getting into DTS right away.
No, I don't want to have a discussion on that of sorts,
Okay.
but I'm just saying that I am someone who's started watching Formula One because of DTS. I'm out
That's
there.
fair.
And, for a lot of people who've been there since 2010, 2011, that time DTS wasn't in the picture. So how did you start getting acquainted to the sport?
So I actually grew up in Bahrain, and even before the first race had happened in Bahrain, it was a very random weekend where me, from a very typical Indian household, was someone who'd love watching a lot of cricket. And I just went to the store to get my weekly children's magazine to get some comics. And there was this one page which had a wallpaper of sports people.
Interesting.
And this was around mid 2003. And that's when I came across a poster of Fernando Alonso. So that's where the Alonso story starts as well. And my curiosity was piqued at that point. I'm like, okay, who's this? What's this guy all about? And there was also a news article around that time that he had become the youngest ever race winner in Formula One.
Wow.
He's the new kid on the block. He's probably going to threaten Michael Schumacher's dominance. And I read a news article around that. I said, you know what, let's see what the sport is all about. And that's when I started getting interested about it. And to my surprise, turns out Bahrain was doing a race next year. And I vividly remember the first race was on 040404, 4th of April 2004. The next year it was on 030405, which I managed to attend. And that's where this whole story with Formula One began.
Okay.
Back then, 23 years back.
So right now, do you follow any other sport as well, or it's only F1? Because you also mentioned a little bit of cricket, so I just want to.
Cricket always has been my first love.
Okay.
Because I've watched it ever since I was a kid.
Fair.
And Formula One is, in a way, my second love.
Right.
But Formula One and other motorsport consume so much of my time that I watch cricket only sparingly right now. And unfortunately, there's not time to watch any of the sport. I
It's
wish I would.
difficult. It's
I wish I
difficult.
could follow football, tennis, and the likes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's difficult right now. But yeah.
So how did this entire journey? You know, I'm sure when you started off, you said that it was all news, right? You were
Yeah.
just giving out stuff to people. When did you realize now you're becoming like the guru, like like you have it now on your gram, that all the stats, all the numbers, and it was starting to be authentic. It was the right numbers that were coming in. Are you using some sort of thing? What's the process like?
So when I started this off, like I said, I didn't really know where this was going to go. I've always had an inclination towards stats because, like I said, my first love has always been cricket, and I would watch a lot of cricket, and I would play a lot of fantasy cricket with my office colleagues. And
Then,
yeah, this was 2013, 14,
okay,
peak IPL time and everything. So we
interesting.
used to play a lot of fantasy cricket, and I'm a very competitive person, be it on the field or even virtually. I'm very
You
competitive.
don't look like that competitive.
So I'm very competitive that way. So I know that I need to do my homework. So every day after work, we would all sit down. Even the rest of the whole gang used to sit down, try and chart out their lineups, which bowler is good in
Was
which
this
venue.
on some kind of app or this just happening?
So this was on the official, I think, IPL app back then, or
Okay.
fantasy website that IPL came up with.
Okay.
So all of us were very competitive together because we're all office colleagues.
Hmm.
So everyone would sit down with their Excel sheet, figure out their lineup, figure out patterns and trends from
Wow.
this, and that's where the whole analytical side of me, I discovered that I like doing this, and then seeing that translate to some sort of performance in the team. Eventually, I kind of thought that okay, maybe I can do this. And then back in 2020, around 2020, I had an injury, so which meant I couldn't play cricket for a year.
Okay.
So the team that I was part of it, the captain comes up to me. He's like, "You're not going to be playing for a year, but can you help strategize?"
So you
Can
used
you?
to play like proper
Yeah,
cricket?
no, I mean like society
Society.
cricket
Okay.
with your friends.
Correct.
But we used to have a league and everything of that
Understood.
sort. So my captain walks up to me. He's like, "You know what? I know you're very interested in being a part of this, but can you help from the sidelines?" I said, "Sure." So every Friday, my job was to write down a lot of pointers, matchups, how to play this bowler, that bowler, largely from data and very little from memory from what I've seen those players. And I would write a whole page of what they have to do. I don't think so they really read it because we would lose a lot.
So just before you continue, you started off as a cricket analytical.
Yeah, something of
Oh.
that sort. So I would go to all of these games and I would take notes and I would like brief the team on the goods and bads of that evening. And yeah, I started doing this, and it was pretty unique because no one else had this sort of a setup. And there was some sort of auction that we had because these sort of leagues that you have as well right now.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of study that went into that. So then I realized that okay, this is something that I do in cricket.
Right.
Can I translate to this to Formula One? Because I realized that people were liking my stats, people were liking my perspectives on social media, and then it kind of struck me that my goodness, stats have been uh, an integral part of Formula One for so many decades.
Right.
You never really notice it.
Right.
Now, stats are probably in your face because
Right.
of social media and also on the broadcast. It's peppered in a lot. But stats has been a part of sport, any sport, for a very, very long time. But they play only a supplementary role.
Correct.
They are never the main cast.
Yeah,
So it's supposed to help the broadcast.
that's true.
So that's when I felt that, oh my goodness, this is such a subtle part of it. But I think I have my way of doing it. Can I do something around it? So I started off with my page, which blew up pretty big soon enough. And one of the big websites, they asked me, "Can I buy your page? Can we buy your page?"
Wow.
This was in 2021.
Wow.
One of the most renowned news agencies said, "Can we would like to buy your page and then we would like to run it as our own?" And that was a big dilemma for me. Do I give my page that's started off so well, or can I make something out of this? So this was
Was it
discussion.
a huge and good paycheck? Interesting
We
one.
never got to discussing numbers,
Okay.
but the offer was there, and I was somewhere on in the middle. Like, do I do this? Do I not do this? And there's also been an offer after that because people see the numbers on social media, and they wanna
Yeah.
buy you out. And I've had like at least two offers of someone wanting to buy me out. So I still gave it some thought, discussed this with folks, friends, And eventually the point was, oh, this is much bigger than it already is. So
yeah.
let's not do away with it. This can definitely lead to something in the future. And I had to tell them no. But that opened doors for me. It opened opportunities to work with them for their page, to do stats for broadcasters and other outlets. So that was the start of things. 2021, 2022 is when this kind of really started, and I felt, okay, this has potential.
Yeah. Interesting. And I've seen like on every F1 weekend, you have like a Friday, you have like a Saturday, you have like a Sunday. I'm sure it's going to be difficult now. How do you approach like an F1 race weekend if you are someone who now wants to jot down stats, right?
Yeah.
How do you start preparing on a Monday? Do you start preparing on a Thursday? What does the weekend look like for you?
So usually it begins the week before.
Right.
So right now, if I'm preparing for a race weekend, I usually do a lot of my homework on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Okay.
Because Monday onwards, everyone starts talking about the race weekend.
That's correct.
Formula One is not just a Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing anymore.
True.
There's a lot of conversations that lead up to the race weekend
Yeah.
of lately in recent years. So my work usually starts on the Saturday and Sunday. Then I give out a lot of stats to broadcasters, agencies on the Monday or the Tuesday.
Okay.
And then they run that. Parallelly, I do my content work as well, review work for the race weekend, and then kind of prep for that. So Mondays and Tuesdays are the most hectic for me. Wednesday, Thursday, it kind of slows down. But then once the race weekend starts again on a Friday is when things start ramping up, because then you start looking at what happened in practice, what happened in the qualifying, what trends can you identify, what can you analyze and tell the world from this, which is not seen on the surface.
Right.
And then after the race weekend is complete, once the cameras are off, once the cars are in the garage, that's when the work starts once again, because now people want to know what happened in the race.
Right.
What are the interesting numbers from that race weekend, or the overall context of the championship.
Yeah.
So then the Monday and the Tuesday are again pretty hectic, and then it kind of slows down. Double headers and triple headers are absolutely
Because
exhausting.
I've seen like when the race began this year, I think the first 2 or 3 weeks we had races every week. So then if there's like an overload like that, it's going to be difficult with the day job that you have already.
Yeah, it is, and it's many times it's difficult to manage both of them. Thankfully, the timing works for me in a way where I'm able to focus on office when I need to be there for all those meetings, and once that's done, I'm able to sit and spend some time. But many times it kind of spills over. There are sleepless nights. There are instances where you have to prioritize what you do right now, and it happens when you're doing two different things at the same time, and you want to ensure both of them are running to the best level that you intend to. It happens, but it's a lot of chaos. I can tell you that. I might have started this off as a hobby,
Right.
but it's actually become a job. Content creation in today's day and age is a job, and many times it feels that it's a very easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Kind of take a camera and plonk it in front of you and speak in front of it. But what do you speak? And after you've done speaking, what do you do after it? How do you present it on social media? How do you engage with an audience? So it's a proper job, and your mind is constantly racing as to understand what new piece of content can I put out today.
Yeah.
What have I understood from this race that people might want to know? So it's a fascinating place, but it has its pros and cons. But I wouldn't have it any other way.
But I also want to understand, do you currently work with any broadcaster as such on a Formula One weekend?
Yeah, so I do work with a couple of broadcasters over the years. So the different categories that I've worked with is F1, F1 Academy, the Indian Racing League, and Indian F4 Championship.
Yeah.
So I give a lot of stats to them for the race weekend. Especially in India, I give them stats during the broadcast as well as the things happen on track. And then there's also a race review of such. So I work with broadcasters. I work with commentators specifically because they have very specific needs from situations from the race.
Yeah.
Then with news agencies who would love to put this out on their articles, and also media outlets who put it on their social pages. So yeah, quite a few.
You plan on building a team from here, like, or you think you can do this?
I actually love that you asked that question, because for the last 6 years, it's always been me doing everything.
Yeah.
Everything that you see on my page, right from a post to a video, was always everything that
editing and all, everything.
Editing, yeah.
Wow, that is big, bro.
The editing and the graphic designing. Someone who has no background in when it comes to designing or editing for that matter. I mean, these are things that you eventually have to pick up.
That's true.
That's the thing. You
That's
have
true.
to sharpen your knives and try to see how you can excel in those areas that you're not rather comfortable in.
Yeah.
So yeah, so but then I felt that you know what, there's not much bandwidth if I want to see the scale, do other championships. So I'm also working with a couple of other championships and the ones that I mentioned. So it's not going to be difficult to sustain this
Yeah.
alone. So fortunately, I've found the right bunch of people. So I have 3 other people working with me.
Yeah.
Someone who helps me strategize my content, try
Nice.
and give me, I mean, someone who's my sounding board to see if the content that I put out is making sense. Is it going the right direction? Is it resonating with people? And then I have 2 other people who help me with stats. So they are data loggers and researchers. I was just speaking to one before I came in. So we're trying to. There's a new series um, in
Right.
off-road racing. So we're
Right.
trying to build something there. So I just gave them a brief on what they have to do, and trust me, the best thing that you can have is a team because it really lessens the load
Load.
so
Yeah.
much, and it gives me time to do so many other things that I did not have for the last several
And
5
I
years.
also think if you have the right people,
Yeah,
who are willing to stick around with you, and who understand what you bring to the table as well, and who want to grow with you, I'm sure then things get better for them and for you as well.
yeah, exactly. And finding the right people is very, very important.
Important. Yeah.
Because many times it feels that they are building something for me,
Yeah.
but eventually it's something that we're doing together.
That's true.
And everyone gets those opportunities. We get to be on track. We get to see our names featured on the broadcast. We get to see our names featured on articles of websites as well. So
Right.
everyone believes that they play a pivotal role in all of this, and I'm
Mm.
very, very glad that I have 2 other team members, and hopefully if there's more opportunities next year, then the team can grow.
So you're slowly moving into every aspect of the motorsport field, I can say, like not just Formula One, maybe maybe the car races that are there, or the other things as well. So you're moving into all aspects.
Yeah, because I feel there is a need for this specific role in those categories as well.
Mm.
I mean, just as important as a commentator is,
Yeah.
you do definitely need a commentator, but I feel that a statistician is able to add
Lot of value.
context on top of that.
Yeah.
And I kind of realized this on ground because many times championships feels that why do we need statistics? Why do we need someone sharing the numbers?
Yeah.
It's important for the championship to give it some credibility as well.
Yeah.
But even more important to kind of reflect the sort of feats these drivers are doing on
That's
track.
true.
If you're able to say that this driver was the youngest pole sitter of this championship, it's something that they would love to put on their CV.
Yeah.
So I had this situation where I did something for the Indian Racing League, and one of the parents, he found me in the pit lane and he said, "You're Sundaram, right?" I said, "Yeah. Thank you so much for finding this stat. It really means so much that it puts things in context as to where my son or daughter stands with respect to the other drivers on the grid. So
Right.
thank you for doing that." And it's a very gratifying situation because you're just doing this out of the love for it. You're just finding numbers at the end of the day. But to see that it actually means so much to someone and something that they can carry on, something that they can pitch to sponsors and partners, it's then something that I actually realized then that this goes far wide than I initially intended.
I'm sure that you were doing this for couple of months, couple of years. When did you actually realize that okay, this is my moment, sort of like you sort of understood that okay, now I've kind of got that gratification or that approval that I wanted, that my stats are doing the job. Anything of that sort has happened?
A few moments actually, because I mean, whenever someone starts as a creator, there's always a period, a year or 2 years, when your work is not getting as recognized as you would want it to be,
That's
be
true.
it any field. And there's always a phase where you're doing everything with very little returns.
Yeah.
And that's the point where you seek validation the most. I
Yeah.
think validation is a very key part of our minds
That's true.
these days. And especially when you're taking the effort to put any piece of content, be it even a video that's a minute long,
Yeah.
you do want people to see it. You do want people to connect with it and
Yeah.
appreciate it, more importantly. And that phase was there. and I've often had questions as to where is this going?
Yeah.
Will this lead to
Lead to
something?
somewhere.
I've had those questions. But the first moment where I felt that, okay, this might be something was in 22. I just put up a very random stat. And of all people, the person who shared it on his story was Fernando Alonso
Wow.
on his Instagram story. So I get a text from a friend saying that, Fernando's shared your stat. I said, come on, you're kidding. You're kidding, seriously.
On
Like, no.
Instagram.
Yeah, on Instagram. I said, you're kidding. And he had, I think, 3 million or 2 million followers back then.
Wow.
I checked the app and he's actually shared it. And that was, I was so overwhelmed that when that happened, seeing a driver and seeing your idol
Yeah.
kind of like your stat and find it so important that he had to put it on a story, and I've kind of taken a screenshot of that, framed it, put it in the house. That was a big moment
Definitely is,
for
bro. That
me.
is a huge moment.
Yeah, and then seeing another stat being mentioned during that same season, the fact that no driver had won a race after their 300th Grand Prix. That
Wow.
was spoken around the entire Grand Prix weekend, and that's when a lot of people actually noticed my page, my work, and that brought a lot of attention to me. And that's when I kind of realized, my goodness, if I'm doing something randomly on a Wednesday and that's good enough to go on a broadcast, maybe if I do this more seriously, maybe if I'm able to put in a little bit more effort, maybe this can go somewhere.
Yeah.
And one of the most gratifying moments for me in this journey over the last 4 years was, I think, whenever I go to the racetrack and whenever I have the odd opportunity to go to the paddock, and I walk up to journalists or photographers or commentators and I tell them, hey, I'm Sundaram. So they say, hey, it's nice to meet you. And then I say, I'm the guy who runs this page, F1 Stats Guru. And they go, oh my goodness, it's you. It's so nice to see you. You're the one who does all of these stats. Your work is incredible. So speaking to the likes of David Croft, Will Buxton, Laura Winter, um, and other journalists as well,
Yeah.
who you would probably read up on a typical race weekend. Um, to know the fact that they know about me
Is a
makes me
big.
very happy.
Yeah.
Makes me feel very overwhelmed with the fact that here's a guy doing something very randomly in India, but it still has an impact in Formula One, in that setting, amongst those circles. And that's when I realized, you know what, this has some potential. You should keep doing this. So yeah, I've had a few moments that I'm very, very grateful for.
What were you telling yourself in those 2 years that you mentioned that like every content creator goes through a phase where you're not getting the kind of viewership you want, you're not getting the kind of validation, gratification that you're kind of looking for. How do you manage to back yourself and say that, okay, this is something I'll still continue to do to like a certain point in life?
For me, it was always a case of figuring out what I want to do in life. That was one thing, because I was pretty average in everything that I did. I was pretty decent in academics or even any other extracurricular activities.
But I'm sure your math was good.
My math was good, actually. My math was good, but there was nothing that I could actually call my own.
Right.
I've always had that feeling that I want to have something of my own.
Hmm.
And when I started doing this between 2018 to 2019, I was very inconsistent. I felt
Right.
like, what's the point of doing all this? Who's going to watch this? I
Yeah.
get barely 5 views. And when I saw that getting traction in 2020, 21, and like I said, the moments where people have shared it on socials and probably even on broadcast, that's when I felt, this is going somewhere. But even during that period, first 3 to 4 years, you have all of these doubts. Like,
Yeah.
where's this going? Is it
Yeah.
really worth it? Are you wasting your time? Would you do something else? Could you switch jobs and then excel in that field? But these thoughts often creep in. But then eventually I often told myself, you know what, this is your thing. You see this, at the end of the day, this has potential. And I'm a person who talks to myself, literally. While walking to the grocery store or sitting idle at home.
Come on, Sundaram, we can do it. Come on,
Yes,
Sundaram, buy
because
the right vegetables.
that that pep talk sometimes
It
is
does,
really
it does,
important.
it does.
That's something I do even right now, because you have to get yourself to do certain things at times.
Because no one else will.
Yeah, no one else will. And you can speak with people, they will offer you advice, they will offer you support, but then you have to be your biggest cheerleader, like they say.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm so glad, and I'm so glad you asked this question. In those 3-4 years, imagine if I had stopped. Imagine if I'd never done this. This would not be happening. I would not be sitting in front of you. So I'm glad I got past that resistance
Yeah.
of wanting to just get done with it.
Yeah, I was also coming to a point, right? Because a lot of people feel that within the first 1 or 2 months, it will happen. Because I know, even I think I started doing a little bit of content pieces about last year because I was in that FOMO phase, at home. I also had like an injury and I was not doing some work. And, I started creating content and just because I wanted to be out there and I thought, I may not get some work and it's important to put your stuff out there. And that's when I started this year. I realized that it's more important than to just be out there to do also good work,
Yeah.
kind of do something that I believe in. And I also realized this thing that it's not going to happen over 6 months. It can happen over a year, 2 years, 3 years, but eventually someday it will. And I think it was important for all the viewers also who follow you today. I've seen a lot of engagement on your page, a lot of people who speak to you, on a personal level on the comments bit as well. And it's important for us to understand as well that you've also been through a phase like that, but you managed to get through it, back yourself, and believe that this is going somewhere.
I think, especially when it comes to content, there's no one formula. For some
Hmm.
people, it kind of works quicker than others. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of YouTubers and even Instagram creators who've blown up within their first year. So,
Hmm.
uh, firstly, it's not luck. Secondly, there is an audience for the sort of content that they're doing,
Yeah.
and they must be doing something right.
Yeah.
I think there's no one with a big audience. If they're not doing something right, then it won't grow. So they
Hmm.
were doing something right for sure. But then for I think majority of creators, because everyone is just trying to jump onto this bandwagon of creation, for them it's a case of learning on the go. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of evolving failures, and then you realize, okay, let's not do this, let's do this, and that's why it takes a longer period of time.
Yeah.
But that's also a very enjoyable journey.
Yeah. Because you're
uh,
figuring yourself out.
yeah, you're figuring yourself out, you're figuring out what people like, so you're figuring out what you would like to do, and that's a very nice phase, I feel, actually.
Hmm.
When you look back at it, you really appreciate that moment or
Yeah.
that phase.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how it happens for most creators. So if you're
Yeah.
someone who's wanting to do content, patience, I think one of the advice that I would give is patience is very, very key. If you know that you have a space, if you have a niche, if you're able to create value um, in your own way, just give it time. Eventually, some way or the other, and with a little bit of luck, things will work out.
Interesting. I also want to go to an aspect of understanding who is Sundaram as a person. You've seen him as a stat person. You feel when someone watches you from the Instagram page of it, like if you had to ask me as a viewer, you feel like a man of few words, who's a cool, calm, composure, sort of. But now I want to get behind and understand, are you like a party person? What do you do in your day-to-day life? What are your, hobbies like? Apart from just looking at stats, what else do you like to do?
It's a question I have to ask myself because this has become my identity, fortunately or unfortunately, in these last 5-6 years. And once you grow older, your priorities do start to change. So
but 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 you aren't that old.
I'm a bit over 30, but
But yes.
but not really much of a party person nowadays.
Hmm.
I like to keep to myself, like to
Right.
stay very close to family,
Right.
and I love my alone time because, my goodness, this. I mean,
You
sleep
want to
cannot
breathe
be
your.
advocated so much. Sleep and your own space, so that's
Yeah.
there. But of course, I do like to go and meet friends and everything. But I'm a very private person that way. I'm not someone who really likes being on camera as much as
Yeah.
well. But I've kind of realized that I have to change that. You really have to put yourself
Out
out
there.
there
Yeah.
and be a public figure to some extent, at least,
Yeah.
because people would like to know the person as well, like you very rightly asked. People would like to connect with the person, and one of the few things that people may not know, which might shock a lot of people, is that I don't have a great memory.
Oh.
To be very honest,
So how do you manage to keep these stats in your mind? Or is it memory only with numbers?
maybe something that's only with numbers, but also I don't remember a lot of things. If you ask me who won in some specific race this year, it would take me a little bit of time
I
to
can't
go.
remember who won last race. So my memory
Even
is
that
as
happens.
bad.
Even that happens to me. So even if there's a 2-week gap, And if I'm speaking with my team, I'm like, who was on pole last week? It takes me a little bit of time. And the fact is that I did have a condition back when I was a child,
Okay.
due to which I don't remember a lot of things beyond a point. It has its pros and cons. The cons, of course, is I don't remember things instantly, and it takes me longer to kind of recollect. Pros is I forget a lot of things which I shouldn't be remembering. Negative moments in life, mistakes in life, and fights in life. So I'm able to get past that. And
Wow.
when someone comes and tells me you said this, I said, really? I said this?
When did that happen?
When did that happen? So there's a silver lining to that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm largely someone who likes to keep to himself.
Do you have any hobbies as such? Singing, dancing, music, eating, or
Not
foodie of
from
that sort?
Yeah, so I enjoy all of that. So singing. I'm someone who's learned singing as a child, and singing at home is something that I like doing. But uh, we used to have a college band back in the day, so I was active in some circles and doing a few things here and there. But yeah, not so much actually.
I think one of those posts that I saw was you posting about some watch or something of that sort. Are you like a person who likes to have a collection of
That's a new hobby.
watches?
That's a new hobby
Building
right now.
slowly,
Yeah, so that as well. Like you said, you need to have other interests in life as well. And
definitely.
when I came to watches, again, it comes out of intrigue. It comes
Correct.
out of curiosity. I'm like,
Correct.
this is pretty interesting. And
Yeah.
it started from the fact that I needed to get a watch.
Right.
But then I just got so deep into it. I'm like, this is fascinating. This is
This is
interesting.
fascinating.
This is a very interesting watch. Let's wait for the day it launches and let's go and buy it. So there's a little hobby I've probably started doing as well. Yeah, it keeps me interested.
Okay. We'll slowly delve into the F1 space, and now I want to bring DTS in front of you as well.
Yes, time for the
What
tea.
were your opinions when you first saw, started watching the DTS? Did you first get into it from the very first season,
Yeah,
or you came in eventually?
I watched every episode of the first two seasons, I think so. But then when I kind of realized that it's pivoting in a different direction, then your interest kind of
I think if you're an outsider who's not followed Formula One so much, you don't get that sense that it was pivoting,
yeah.
to a web series kind of an angle. Because we are just enjoying it and we're like, wow, this is what you get in Formula One, and we're just seeing. But I saw a lot of creators, people who've been following the sport from before, everyone tell me the same thing, that season after season, just kind of moving away from what the actual storyline should be.
Yeah, and there were a lot of storylines that were, I think, cropped up just for the sake of entertainment, and
Hmm.
I think it suppressed a lot of drivers as well. That
Yeah.
when did we have this sort of rivalry? Um, but I think it's a very interesting concept, and I
Hmm.
think this is also extending to other sports. That I think it's happening in cricket and football.
Yeah.
What's the purpose of a drive to survive?
Hmm.
For some purists or some long-term followers of Formula One,
Hmm.
it's supposed to give you behind the scenes access
Yeah.
to what's happening within those circles, within those rooms. What's the thought process of the higher management when they
Yeah.
are trying to decide who are we going to sign for next year, or even some moments from the race where you try and understand how was this race put together for this driver. But for a lot of newer fans, it's an entry point into this very complex world of Formula One. I think everyone has gotten into Formula One as a beginner at some point. At some
Hmm.
point, you've not understood what the sport is. And I
Yeah.
think Formula One is one such sport which is constantly evolving, constantly becoming more and more complicated.
Yeah.
And if you hear a driver like Charles Leclerc say, I think very recently in, where was it, Baku, when he said, even I don't understand Formula One
Hmm.
because there are so many different factors in it, and it's such a complex sport. If anyone says I know Formula One through and through,
Yeah.
uh, they're probably lying. So DTS gave newer fans an access into this very large world, and it gave them those initial steps into how you can get into the sport, how you can start watching the sport.
Hmm.
And it had all those little ingredients of it. There was drama, there was rivalry,
Yeah.
but it also gave you an understanding of what the sport actually is. So
Yeah.
in that way, great initiative by the people who brought out that series, and great initiative that they're continuing it for several seasons. If you actually go back before 2017,
Hmm.
Formula One largely was a very dull sport, and it also, I think, the decade before that, there was a lot of concerns of on-track racing, if it's a viable option to keep investing in. lots of circuits were pulling out, not just because they were not interested in Formula One. It was not financially feasible as well.
Right.
You would walk up to a race and you would see grandstands are empty.
Mm.
So it wasn't working out in several aspects. And Liberty Media came in at a time when they decided, you know what, we have to go with what's working currently, which is
Right.
social media.
Right.
Uh, these teams, they had their Twitter accounts and Instagram accounts since 2010, 2012, but they were not permitted to post a lot of content
Right.
online. There were regulations.
Right.
There are some regulations now as well,
No.
but it's largely relaxed.
Correct.
But up until Liberty Media came in, you couldn't do a lot of those things.
Mm.
But once they came in, they opened access so much to everyone. Even for us, long-time followers, it's good that we now have access to telemetry. We now have access to onboards.
Yeah.
We now have access to live timing. We get more information about the sport on a session-by-session basis than we've ever had before.
Mm.
And that's great for us, and that's great for newer fans who want to understand the sport as well. So by Liberty Media coming in, opening the sport, opening up social media to all of the newer audiences was great. And then Drive to Survive was the perfect way to get into the sport. So I kind of understand where this question comes from, because I think everyone asks this question.
Yeah, for me also, it's more about the fans, right? Because there's so much banter going on social media, Instagram, comment section, Twitter, about if you're a DTS fan, you cannot start a podcast. If you're a DTS fan, you can't talk about a specific race, because there are OG fans who've been there in the scene since a long time. Like they've been following Alonso, Hamilton, etc., etc. And they're like, you guys have just seen DTS and you don't know what Formula One actually is. So just coming in from that perspective, right?
I think I also understand why there's a little bit of discrimination, if I can say that. And quite clearly there is, because when you even ask this question, are you a DTS fan? And then there are a lot of questions that follow up after that.
Yeah.
It feels like you're trying to put the person down.
Yeah.
And for a lot of long-term followers, because Formula One has always been a very niche sport. Like I said, it's a very complex sport.
Yeah.
So you have to take a little bit of effort to understand it. And they've always, probably the feeling comes from the fact that they've spent a lot of time to understand the sport, how it works. And now, because there's an easier entry point, an easier way to access and watch it, people feel that it should be a little gate kept. You have to gatekeep a little and not kind of open it out to everyone. And you can probably talk about this in other sports, but probably it's a little predominant in F1 especially. But even cricket, football for that matter. I mean, I watch football very casually. So I'm a Chelsea fan, but I watch only when I have the time. I probably watch one game in the entire season, but there are casual fans as well. And you will have casual fans. You can't just put them aside and say, you're not important. Just as much as the older fans are important for its heritage and its legacy, Formula One thrives on newer fans.
Yeah.
And you have to carry this forward as well. So a lot of these newer fans, they will come in with a lot of questionable opinions, questionable perspectives, but eventually they will learn. And I think Formula One is a constant learning process, even for me today. You see something go wrong during the race, and you kind of wonder what's in the regulations, and you go into the regulations and you try to read it. So there's nothing wrong in being a DTS fan. Just that a little bit of curiosity and a little bit of understanding that Formula One, as you see today, was not the same, probably even 5 years ago. It's a sport that evolves so rapidly. I mean, you can talk about eras in cricket, but Formula One, things change every year, right? From regulations to how you can do pit stops. There was a season back in 2005 where you're not supposed to change your tires throughout an entire race. Now you don't have refueling. Back in the day, there were lots of issues with the FIA and the drivers and everything. So there's lots of circumstances due to which so many things have happened. And eventually people will get to learn about the history. So in my opinion, you shouldn't gatekeep the sport, because it's a beautiful sport. It's a beautiful sport, and
definitely.
And everyone should follow it. People will have their opinions, but you should try and shut out the noise.
Yeah, and where do you see this, going in India? Is it growing right now? Will it take time? I think to some extent it's already grown. Also because it's a pop culture sport. Gen Z wants to be, part of it. Anything that's pop culture, they, want to be on the bandwagon. But where do you see this? Do you think it's also like a fad that may pass away in a few years if not taken care of?
Very interesting point that you said, that not taken care of, because right now, to some extent at least, I wouldn't say majority of it, it does seem like the new cool thing, the new
Yeah.
it thing,
Yeah.
and there's a sense of FOMO attached to not just Formula One,
Yeah.
but even if you go to a concert, you want to be a part of it, you want to
Yeah.
be there, you want to talk about it, you
Yeah.
want to post it on your social media, or be it any show that as well that you've not watched. Have you not seen this show? And you feel that, oh shit, okay, maybe I
Yeah.
should watch it. So
Yeah.
similarly, Formula One is being popularized by the F1 movie, by Drive to Survive.
Yeah.
A lot of these personalities that you have in drivers like Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc,
Yeah.
Daniel Ricciardo. So these are the personalities who've made people interested in them,
Yeah.
and of course people will be curious about them. Um, but then again, there is a larger population of people who are very much interested in the sport.
Yeah.
So if the curiosity, how you become curious is not the point. What you do beyond that is very much important. So
Yeah.
does this make you want to follow the sport? Does it make you want to understand the intricacies of why this happened? Why did they get disqualified? Why did they not have the pace this weekend when they were quick enough last weekend? Formula One is a complex sport where it's a lot of problem solving, not just for people who are in the sport, but also for audiences.
Yeah.
Like, why is Hamilton not winning this year? Why is he
Mm.
not on the podium? There's a lot of inner details to it, and if you try to find those answers, you can get that.
Yeah.
Why has Alonso? My father has always asked me this question: why is Fernando Alonso not winning a race? And I can give him a very blunt answer saying that he's not in a good car, but there are a lot of details there as well. So Formula One is, as an audience member as well, breaking that down into smaller blocks and trying to understand the inner details is also very fun. But it's not something that everyone has to do. A lot of people tune up on a Sunday just to see who's won the race.
Yeah.
Who,
I'm also someone who doesn't watch
Yeah.
maybe a Friday, Saturday sometimes, but I want to tune in on a Sunday and be like, why not?
And that's across any sport. Like
Yeah.
I said, I've watched football very casually. So there
Yeah.
will be people who turn up on a Sunday just to watch the race. They go out to a pub, they watch the race
Yeah.
at a venue. They want to have a good time, and that's just about it. Many people don't want to delve into the details too
That's
much,
correct.
and that's totally fine.
That's right. And you also spoke about drivers, right? Apart from Fernando, who else, do you think hits home for you or can be a second favorite?
Very close favorite this year, after nearly 20 years of following Fernando, is, I would say, Oscar Piastri. Something about his demeanor, the way he goes about.
Also because you think he resonates with you, man of few words, doesn't talk much.
Maybe, perhaps, and maybe that's also why I kind of resonate with such characters.
Yeah.
I've always been a
Yeah.
Dhoni fan than a
Same.
than a Kohli fan. Maybe it's that, and how they go about the whole process, how
Yeah.
what their method is.
Yeah.
Piastri is a driver who kind of builds himself throughout a
Yeah.
race weekend, and see him do that is very nice to see.
Yeah.
How they work under pressure and everything. So when Fernando retired between 2018 and 21, I tried really hard to like a different driver. I tried really hard. I mean, I do like a
To
lot of
like a different driver.
Yeah, because see,
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you
I
say
understand.
when you have a favorite driver,
Yeah.
when the starting grid is happening
Yeah.
and the race is starting, your
Yeah.
eyes immediately focus toward that one driver.
That's true.
You try to find that driver throughout that whole grid, that opening lap, to see if has he made it through the first lap safely, has he made any overtakes. Similarly, I have not felt that same way for any other driver, because I've always been an Alonso
Yeah.
fan, and eventually I go on to follow the teams that he moves to.
Yeah.
But to some extent, I think once Fernando chooses to hang his boots, and I think I'll closely follow Oscar, what he does with his. Yeah.
And do you also like Fernando for just the races, or there's something else about him which you think is something that we don't know maybe?
I think Fernando is more popular for what he did in the seasons that he did not win in the championship than in the ones that he did. We often say Fernando, if you want to give him a byline, Fernando Alonso, two-time world champion. But you often talk about the magic that he did with Ferrari, the magic that he's done with several cars that have never deserved to be at the front, but he's managed to put it there. So if I can kind of provide context to this with the help of a stat, Fernando's won 32 races in Formula One, which is quite something.
Yeah.
But if I tell you 18 of those races, 18 of those 32 have been won in cars that have not won a title.
Wow.
And that's amongst the top 3 or 4. And that's very close to a Michael Schumacher, if I remember correctly. I think 24 of the 91 races that Michael won have been in non-championship cars. So 24 and 18 is very, very close. I think Hamilton is on 19 or 20 out of the 103 races. So sometimes the stat is sufficient to tell you a story
Yeah.
about the driver or their journey.
Yeah.
But sometimes, many times, it requires a lot more context. So for me, Fernando's struggles, his way of always wanting to bounce back, was something that I live by as much as I can. Because it's easy to throw in the towel and say, you know what, I've been a two-time world champion. Why do I need a third one?
Yeah.
So this guy at the age of 44 is only driving today for the fact that he wants to prove to the world that he's better than two titles,
Yeah.
which he actually is. Circumstances have not meant that he could do that. But if I feel that if Fernando had won a third title, he would have hung his boots long time ago. If Hamilton had won in 21, I think he would not be
definitely.
He would not have been here today. So they're all fighting for that one purpose, which is in Fernando's case for 20 years, actually 20 years right now, 20 years since he won his first title. And seeing that fight in him is something that I really love watching. That's what makes me really connect with him.
So I was also coming to this question, right? That I think you kind of had your perspective about or spoken about, and I hear a lot of people speaking about it. That Formula One is a little too long. You know, the races specifically that happen on a Sunday, because we speak about football. Football's about 90 minutes, and now with extra time and all, maybe it's going to about, you know, like say like 100 minutes as well. So I think it's okay to watch a game of football, but people are not okay to watch, you know, a Formula One race, which is about you know, say about 2 hours at times, and it may extend if it's like a rainy weekend of sort. Where do you stand there?
I mean, you put it out very rightly. A typical cricket match, if you talk about a T20 match, is 4 hours, 3.5, 4 hours.
4 hours.
Typical football match is what, 2 hours?
Yeah.
But still, there is a novelty in the longer versions of the sport.
Yeah.
Test cricket has its own novelty.
I would watch it any day, man.
Yeah, and even the endurance form of motorsport, be it 24 hours of Le Mans or any other series, even Indy 500 for that matter, it's exciting in that true long form.
Yeah.
Formula One, in terms of Grand Prix racing, right now there is a directive or there is a regulation that the race time should not exceed 2 hours from start to finish. If there are interruptions, red flags, it should not exceed 3 hours. If it does, then you have a countdown or you have laps that are curtailed. But 2 to 3 hours is fair for any sporting affair. I think that's the amount of time I think anyone should invest in a sport. Even when you go to a concert, it's at least an hour and a half, probably even longer when you have other artists as well. So I don't understand the concept of wanting to shorten races, especially the Grand Prix, specifically the Grand Prix. The Grand Prix, I think, is perfect in the way it is. If you want to introduce sprint races, sure, it appeals to a newer and younger audience, and they're doing that. Fine, it adds another angle or another version of excitement. They're doing that on the Friday and the Saturday, which is fair. But I don't particularly agree that the sport has to change its way of functioning just because attention spans are reducing. And
interesting.
What do you do beyond this? Right now, if you think that, okay, people's attention spans are lower, okay, fine, let's cater to that. If tastes change 2 or 3 years later, if right now you have reels, something else pops up a couple of years later, which
TikTok.
Yeah.
In India, maybe. I think it's already in talks.
Which reduces it even more. What do you do? So once you set a precedent by trying to catering to this, then it's gonna go and spiral. So I think Grand Prix racing in the way it is, 305 kilometers, 2 hours, more or less. Stick to it.
Do you also think, right? Because I had this question of a long race. You know, I'm someone who loves watching sprint weekends as well, because it's like a faster format. You know, some would say like a T20 of sorts. Do you think there should be any other introduction in terms of races? You know, in Formula One, maybe you have like a sprint, you have like a long race. Is there something else that, you know, can come in to maybe improvise, get more viewers, or you think the way it's going is fine?
I think the way it's going is fine, because I mean, firstly, it's commendable that Formula One, the FIA, they are open to this as well compared to how it used to be run before. So the fact that they're experimenting with a sprint format, and its format has kind of evolved over the last 4 or 5 years, and that's a good thing. to make it still excitable, still to make it interesting. I kind of think the way they've formulated it right now, I think it's the perfect way.
Yeah.
You reduce the number of practice sessions, fine. You bring in a shorter race, just fine, and then you have uh, one more qualifying session, and you have the Grand Prix. I think that template is perfect. Even in terms of the number of races that we have in the calendar, 24 races might be a little overkill. I think 20 or 22 might seem perfect, but then if you're going to 24, 25, it really goes to the level of, you know, it gets saturated beyond a point.
Yeah.
So you really want to maintain that novelty, and it's not a case of delivering more just because there is more demand. It also has to have that exclusivity. One of the things that definitely has to be changed, which is, see, why are we talking about sprint races? Why are we talking about these other formats? Because there is something lacking in the
Yeah.
main race.
Yeah.
That's where it stems from, and that's always been the issue for the last several years, several decades actually.
Yeah.
DRS was introduced because overtaking was generally an issue.
Yeah.
So they devised a system that allowed overtakes, but still not in a very natural way.
Yeah.
Eventually, if you want to talk about an ideal Formula One, everyone's able to overtake at will,
Yeah.
provided you're able to put yourself in that opportunity. You don't have to rely on these mechanisms
Yeah.
to have good racing. So the sporting spectacle definitely has to be improved. It's good. We've had great seasons over the last several years, but
Yeah.
it's not something that is sustaining. There's a lot of issues with dirty air. There's a lot of issues with the technical side of things, which might hamper the overall show. What I've seen generally this year is the fact that people, if you have a processional race, people then start questioning Formula One, if this is the right formula.
Yeah.
Tell me, do you have football matches that never end in a draw? Do you have dead rubbers in cricket as well,
Yeah.
which are not as exciting as others? It
It
adds a
happens.
nice,
It's a part and parcel.
yeah, it's a part and parcel. It adds a nice balance.
Yeah.
And the fact is that you really don't want to try and manipulate
Yeah.
too much of this. So you really need to try and ensure that the sporting side of it is as natural and organic and exciting as possible for all the drivers, for all the teams. And that comes down to regulations. How well can you devise regulations that ensures that there is good sporting action on track, and you don't have to depend on external factors like a safety car or the rain. To be
Yeah.
honest, when you have rain,
Yeah.
it kind of blows up the whole Grand
Yeah.
Prix. It becomes so much more exciting.
Exciting. Yeah.
And everyone wants to see, okay, who's going to go off, because all those things do
Yeah.
tend to follow in
That's
sequence.
that's what we watch in the movie as well, right? I think
Exactly.
that is what made it exciting. Though some things were, a little over the
Exaggerated.
top, but I mean, we still
But a
enjoy.
guy coming back to Formula One after 30 years. I've actually made a set of stats around the
Yeah.
movie itself, because
Yeah.
no one's come back to Formula One after
After
30 years. And he still
Crazy.
managed to win a race before Fernando Alonso, which hurts, but okay.
Do you also see yourself someday working for a team? Like, what is the next step for F1 Stats Guru? You've been here, you now slowly have a team as well. But someday, are you ambitious that you want to be part of some team?
See, that's the ultimate aim. So right now, although I am contributing to Formula One's broadcast in a way, I would like to be the official statistician of Formula One as well, in a more closer way of working than I currently have. And that's always been the ultimate dream. I would love to do that. But apart from that, there is so many areas where I really want to scale up myself as well. I'm not just a statistician. So I initially started off as a statistician who was doing content, but right now I am a creator who does content around stats.
Yeah.
So it's important that I do content around the history of the sport as well. And if I get the opportunity to work with a team, which seems a little...
Which team?
Difficult question, actually.
You don't have any favorites as such.
So, I mean, my favorite team would be a Ferrari, that way.
Come on, Lewis.
It has always been Ferrari, because there's a different emotion
obviously
to seeing Ferrari win. But
probably if you get there, fortunes change for them, because they haven't been doing their stuff really well.
If I'm the person who brings around the turnaround, then yeah, but that won't be the case. Yeah. But even a McLaren, for that matter, or even a Williams. Interestingly, I love the fact that McLaren and Williams, McLaren especially, I think, are dominating right now. Because if you take a look at the grid, a lot of these teams came into Formula One as a marketing exercise. A lot of these teams, Mercedes, Ferrari, they had their own automobile section and they were into racing. But McLaren and Williams are two teams of the entire grid that was originated specifically for racing in Formula One. The intention, the dream was always only to be in Formula One. Bruce McLaren and Frank Williams, their intention was always to succeed in Formula One. There was no other agenda of marketing or road cars or other products, or even Red Bull for that matter. Their intention was to talk about how crazy they are and how they're able to promote their energy drinks. But McLaren and Williams are true racing pedigree in that sense. So if I get the opportunity to work with a McLaren, I would love it.
Wow. We're hoping that it happens for you someday and those dreams come true as well.
Yes, and yeah, it's eventually so many different things that I actually want to do in terms of travel, in terms of content, stats, history. So many things I think I can offer, and let's see how it goes.
You've already been doing a lot of things, and there are so many people who watch you right now. If there is someone who wants to be a Sundaram in the future, a few years down the line, maybe join your team, be another stats guru of sorts, what does one have to do?
I think one of the most interesting things, I mean, if you want to be a creator, even if you want to be a creator, not necessarily a statistician, is to have genuine curiosity. Why is this? What is that? Because you cannot fake the kind of knowledge that you gain by following a sport so closely and so deeply.
Right.
So curiosity leads you to so many different things. Curiosity leads you to different content pieces. But also to be a statistician, you really need to have attention to details. I'm very particular about the way my database looks and the way it's built and everything. Because if you fumble and if you make errors there, that too on a regular basis, you're not going to get work. So for me, I'm inherently a person who's very Excel sheet dependent, and it has to be color coded and everything. So it's good to be disciplined. It's good to have curiosity and you see that build. But like I said, patience is very, very important. A lot of these gigs are long-term gigs and
it takes time.
It usually takes time, but very rarely it happens. Gratification happens very instantly. So you really have to trust yourself and you really have to hope, and you really hope there's a little bit of, see, many of the times it's also luck, you being at the right place at the right time. It could be someone else as well. So I think I've been privileged that way. When I started doing stats, there were all of two other people who were doing stats, at least the known faces. One, of course, who is in Formula One, and one other person that I know. Right now, there are a couple of others as well, but still, it's a very niche area within a niche area. So, whatever you pick, it requires all of these qualities: curiosity, patience, and you really have to trust and back yourself more than anything else.
And what have your learnings been as a professional, as a content creator, as a person in life that you'd want to share with people?
One of the things is the fact that you really have to be very thick-skinned in content and in life in general. Because I've always grown up as a person who's very sensitive to feedback, criticism, and I would take it personally. But the fact is that you cannot please everyone. That's a fact of life.
Someone has to disagree.
Someone has to disagree. So even 1 out of 10 dentists disagrees with a certain toothpaste. Right? So that's always the case. And even with drivers, someone likes Hamilton, someone likes Verstappen. There's reasons why you hate them as well for a lot of fan bases. So I've kind of realized that I cannot keep everyone happy. It's very, very important that you are able to disassociate yourself from negative feedback, because sometimes the feedback is genuinely constructive. It's meant with the intention to help you get better and give you feedback. You know what, I didn't like this, maybe you can do this better. Sometimes it's downright hate because it comes from a place of jealousy. It comes from a place of envy. And it's very easy to say, you know what, you're doing stats. Sitting in a room and you're finding numbers. What's great in that? Similarly, you're a commentator. From the outside, it looks like I can commentate, but the moment I've had the opportunity to sit with a mic, it's very easy to shit your pants. So there is, yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah. And I'm a huge sucker for motivational lines because every person, has something else that they go to, maybe a song or something of that sort. Or, I'm a huge sucker for advice that, people have as well.
Yeah.
Any motivational line, any advice that you've ever been given, best advice you've ever been given, or you would want to give, pass it on.
Best advice I've been given, and something that I uh, try and live by, is the fact that we've discussed shorter races, sprints, and everything. So, in an age where instant gratification is the thing, you want to buy groceries, you get it within 10 minutes. Speed is being appreciated. You buy clothes, you get it within 24 hours. So, in a world where things are getting faster, uh, I was told that you need to add depth to whatever you do. So, even if it takes a little bit of more time, if it's able to add more depth and value and context to that. And I think I try to reflect that with any piece of work that I do. Um, and at the end of the day, for me, whenever I feel low, my page is everything that I have.
What is your page?
So my Instagram.
Okay.
On the days where I'm doubting myself, am I good enough? Is this going to go somewhere? What's the point of all of this? When I have these questions recurring in my mind, the one simple exercise that I've done over the last 5 years is go to my page, take a look at it, and see this is what you've built.
Wow.
This is what you've built. You go to a couple of comments and you see that this is what people have written about you. And like I said, I've built this from scratch. I'm not someone who's had any expertise in graphic designing, video editing, and to see that I've done it to this extent, that itself makes me feel
Happy.
Very happy. I feel this is success for me. Whatever comes beyond this is a bonus, because in the content creation game, or even in life, there's no end goal.
Yeah.
There's no end to it. If you are earning money, you want to earn more money. If you earn 10,000 followers, you want to earn
20,000.
20,000, 100, a million. There's always people you'll compare yourself against, unless you are the benchmark. But when I see people, even 5 people turn up for a meetup, or 50 people turn up for a meetup, that fills my heart, because these are people who've taken time to come and see me. So that is something that makes me feel very happy in life.
Yeah.
In terms of quotes, since you asked this, have you heard of this driver called Juan Manuel Fangio?
No.
So he is a 5-time world champion.
Okay. Can you pronounce him for me again?
Juan Manuel Fangio.
Juan Manuel Fangio.
Yeah.
Okay.
An Argentinian driver.
Okay.
Who raced back in the 1950s. And his record of the most world titles in Formula One was broken nearly 50 years later by Michael Schumacher in the early 2000s.
Okay.
He is one of the goats of the sport, someone who is not spoken about as much. He said back in that day, you should strive to be the best, but never believe that you are.
Wow.
And it's so true, because many times when you reach a certain level, certain pedestal, you start depending on you start living on your past laurels, and yeah, I've done everything and this is life. But it's important to keep pushing forward as well. And I'm sure you heard of Niki Lauda as well.
Yeah.
I think 10 years ago he was awarded something, I think lifetime achievement, something of that sort. He walked up to the stage and he said, you know what, I really have to thank all the winners in this room, but I also equally have to thank all the losers, because I've learned more from losing. And that's so true.
Yeah.
Winning teaches you something, but losing teaches you how to bounce back and then go on and win. So a lot of my experiences in life have come from mistakes, from fights, arguments, and it's very important to look back, internalize, and think about it in retrospect, and see what you can do in the future. So these are two quotes that really, really are embedded in my mind that might help you as well.
Wow. So I just wanted to pick up from that last line that you mentioned, right? We're staying in a world of instant, but I think your advice was that you shouldn't chase instant, right? Yep. Try and wait for the patient, try and wait for the calm. And there is so much that I've been able to gauge from you. Like when I invited you on the show, I wasn't very sure as to how it's going to be, what is it going to be.
Neither did
I. You like I said, you seem like a person who's not a man of few words, but I knew that I could pick your brains and try and see as to how much we can try and get from you. and I think the journey that you had is something which is motivational for someone like me who's just started off in the content space. I would say there are days that I see the way you see, right?
Yeah.
Like no one's watching the reels, or it's not kicking up, or you're doing a lot of hard work in there, you're putting heart and soul, but sometimes it's not happening. And I like the thing that you also mentioned, that you go back to ground zero, see what you built,
Yeah.
see the kind of few pieces that have worked for you, the kind of content that's comments that have come in from people, and that there is someone out there who appreciates the work that you've done, and just keep going. So bro, I want to say a huge thank you to you for firstly coming in on a Saturday, giving your time. You've traveled quite a bit to get here.
Yeah, that's always the case. If I
Firstly,
have to come to this part of the town.
so thank you so much, and I'm sure a lot of people watching will take tidbits from this, learn from this, and hopefully will get to know you a little bit more.
Thank you so
Thank you
much,
so
man.
much. Appreciate it.